Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever it is. Right, yesterday I made a video and it was introducing you to my new book, The Return of Sophia, the Divine Sophia. And I read you a little bit out of the book, a segment of the book. And today I'm going to read you some more because I've just come to another part of the book that I really think I should read to you. But first of all, I'm going to read the back of the book. Yeah, it's, oh no, I wasn't going to read that one. I was going to read, oh, no, can't find it. Anyway, forget that now. Let's just go to this bit. Right, it's called The Distortion of Original Sin. Having grown up in the church going to Sunday school, I realised that most of us are programmed at a subconscious level to feel abandoned at an early age. We are told that God is out there somewhere, but where? Oh right, maybe he's in heaven. When we add the threat of damnation to this, we are caught between our yearning for love, our fear of disapproval, and our endless quest to be good enough to please the divine. Then once the distorted doctrine of original sin was added to the idea of a punishing God, we learned that we were all damned anyway. Original sin was an idea created by the early church father, St. Augustine. It was never a doctrine taught or promoted by Jesus. It postulates that when Adam first had sex with Eve, sin was born in the world. In other words, humankind fell into imperfection through the act of sex, and thus we were cast out of paradise. According to this crazy logic, we're all damned at birth because we were conceived through sex. Or even if we had never had sex ourselves, we are still damned because Adam and Eve had sex. In Augustine's version, we are all innately diseased and can only find salvation through the church. In essence, he proposes both the illness and the cure, creating a powerful loop of shame and guilt, manipulation and fear in his followers. Theologian Elaine Pagel, author of the Gnostic Gospels and Adam and Eve and the Serpent, writes about how St. Augustine's theory completely distorted the teachings of Jesus. Instead of the freedom of the will and humanity's original royal dignity, Augustine emphasizes humanity's enslavement to sin. Humanity is sick, suffering, and helpless, irreparably damaged by the fall for that original sin. The belief that we are damned from birth is so fundamentally wrong that it creates a deep layer of shame at the very base of the human psyche. And this belief then generates the feeling that we can never be good enough to win God's love. We are innately unworthy and unlovable. By extension, this also means that we can never be good enough to earn the love we seek from our romantic partners, our parents, or even from ourselves. Some historians have attributed Augustine's doctrine castigating human sexuality to a need to reject his own highly lustful nature. Since Augustine was a great hedonist in his early years, he kept a mistress for 13 years with whom he had an illegitimate son. Thus he preached that the only remedy for this kind of powerful sexual lust can be found in the conjugal rights of Christian marriage. Attempting to have such a rite with a virgin, he was engaged for a while to an 11-year-old. But even then he kept a mistress. Clearly repulsed by and at odds with his own unbridled passions, and perhaps those of his friends, Augustine taught that human nature is a mass of perdition and sin. The only redemption for our sexuality, he said, is in the resurrection of the body. Unfortunately, this kind of warped theology was later legitimized by two subsequent popes, Pope Innocent I and Pope Zosimus, and also by the church councils of Carthage, Ephesus and Trent, giving us insight into how the distortions and repressions of the sexual appetites of the early church fathers have corrupted our theologies. The concept of original sin was first introduced into the Roman Church when Christian bishops began arguing about the pre-existence of the soul. Reincarnation had always been part of early Christian canon for the first 5 centuries of the Common Era and was openly taught by Jesus. As we shall see, it was part of the belief system of the essences and the Pharisees, two of the 3 major Jewish sects at the time of Jesus. While the essences lived in isolated communities away from Jewish politics and were focused on the ancient teachings of Moses and Pharisees and the Sadducees, I can't say it, composed most of the 72 members of Sanhedrin High Council, which ruled Judea at the time of Christ. Both the Pharisees and the Sadducees were known for their wealthy lifestyle, excessive lawmaking, imposition of high taxes, and condemnation of any prophets who might arise to threaten their power. According to the 1st century Jewish CE, Jewish historian Flavius Josephus, the Sadducees did not believe in reincarnation of life after death, while the Pharisees embraced both concepts. Reincarnation was also part of the Egyptian, Greek, Celtic, and Roman theologies. However, for a church that wished to consolidate its power, the idea that people have multiple lives in which to perfect themselves as a way to reach heaven left too much room for freedom. So this was not a very good approach for selling God to the masses. Once reincarnation fell out of favour among the church fathers, they were asked to explain how bad things can happen to good people, if not for karma. As a result, St. Augustine proposed the concept of original sin as a way of explaining away the unprovoked sufferings and allegedly sinful nature of all human beings. However, this kind of thinking is clearly flawed. In the first place, sex is part of the intelligent design of the universe. It is not only the natural means of procreation among all creatures, but also a doorway into powerful states of ecstatic bliss. It is perhaps this power that the Church really feared. Through the sacred marriage, we have the chance to activate our own spiritual life force, to awaken our hearts and pull our fiery Kundalini life force energies into our higher spiritual centers. This awakens our inner sight, allowing us to experience powerful states of oneness. In this kind of ecstatic communion, we dissolve the boundaries of our ego, gain a glimpse of our true natures, and experience the transcendent passion of universal consciousness. When we combine the idea that God is somewhere far away, far away, with original sin, we create a culture of unhappy, neurotic people who feel that they will never be perfect enough to be loved. This sets up a continual cycle of overwork, overspending, oversexing, guilt, shame, and disappointment, along with a sense of impending doom as we await the heavy hammer of punishment to descend. This theology demonizes sexual love, and women, for that matter, and blocks us from experiencing sacred sharing in a more elevated way. Then our unconscious sense of guilt, fear, and suppressed passion creates a society of people afraid to look inward for fear that they will see the worst. Then, when we avoid going within, we cannot connect with God, especially because we have been told that the world we live in is not sacred and that God is nowhere to be found here on earth. This creates a deep emptiness within each one of us. Many people try to fill this emptiness with drugs, alcohol, pornography, compulsive shopping, or other forms of addiction. In an endless quest for money, fame, the perfect body, or approval in the eyes of others. These are all substitutes for the love we have never let ourselves experience from the one who loves us most, from the Creator. Thus, the theology of transcendence needs the balance of immanence to help us remember the creative presence of the divine in every person, every flower, and every moment. Unfortunately, these dysfunctional patterns have been programmed into us now for over 1600 years. From the time the Church accepted the doctrine of original sin in the 15th century CE. This is why most people do not understand why they are never happy for long. It is also why we long to escape into the fantasy world of TV, alcohol, or drugs. It is a way of numbing the unconscious pain of being present in a world without hope. But what we are really trying to heal is our own relationship with a loving, very present Creator, who we have been told has gone missing from our daily lives. Jesus addresses these concepts of transcendence and immanence in the Gospel of Thomas when he says, I am the light that is above the all. I am the all. The all came forth from me, and the all attained to me. Cleave wood, I am there. Lift up the stone, and you will find me there. In this simple but profound passage, Jesus resolves the entire conundrum. The divine is both inside the worlds of matter and also beyond what we can see. The divine is present in every stone or piece of wood, and it is also the light that transcends this world. The divine is everywhere. When we only embrace the God is distant philosophy, we cease to rejoice in the here and now and fail to celebrate the divinity of those around us. We try to fit into a pattern of perfection that has been projected onto us, and we invariably fall short. We become blind to the good, the right, and the beautiful, seeing the world only through the filters of harsh judgment. The glass is always half empty and never half full. No wonder we are so miserable and frustrated. So true. So true. The direction of time and space. Mary said, "When the wind blows, listen. The Spirit is speaking. Let your prayers be set upon the four winds in spirit, so that they should be a blessing to the whole world, to the whole earth. If you pray in this way, the Supreme Spirit above will receive your prayers." Yeah. Anyway.